Okay, let's address the elephant in the room. You've probably seen this claim somewhere online. Semen smells like brie cheese. Maybe you laughed. Maybe you gagged. Maybe you immediately went to the fridge to investigate. But is there any actual science behind this? Today we're looking at the chemistry of aged cheese and reproductive fluids, because apparently this is what the internet needs answered. First, let's talk about brie, that soft, creamy French cheese with the white outer layer. That strong smell? It comes from a type of white mold that breaks down the proteins in the cheese. When proteins break down, they release ammonia, that sharp cleaning product kind of smell. The older the cheese, the stronger it gets. But brie doesn't just smell like ammonia. It also has this buttery, earthy, almost mushroom-like quality. That's because the mold creates a whole mix of different smells working together. Now, let's talk about the other side of this weird comparison. Semen contains something called spermine. When this stuff hits the air and starts to break down, it also releases ammonia. So yes, there's one molecule that shows up in both. But that's like saying coffee and gasoline are similar because they both have carbon in them. I mean, technically true. But come on, everything else is completely different. Semen is mostly water, with some protein, sugar, and minerals like zinc. It usually smells a bit sharp, a bit metallic, nothing like the rich, creamy, earthy smell of fancy cheese. Now here's the thing. Even if the smell has one tiny thing in common, the taste is a whole different story. Brie melts in your mouth. It's buttery, earthy, a little bit funky in a good way. There's fat, there's richness, there's depth. Semen, it's mostly water with some protein and sugar. The taste is usually salty, a little sweet, sometimes metallic or bitter. No fat, no richness, no creamy texture. Your tongue knows the difference right away, even if your nose got a little confused. Okay, so if it doesn't taste like cheese, what does it actually taste like? I went down a rabbit hole of forums, surveys, and way too many Reddit threads so you don't have to. Here's what people actually compare it to. The most common answer? Raw egg white. That slippery texture, mild but kind of weird taste. A lot of people say that's the closest thing. Second place goes to watered down yogurt. Not the fruity kind, just plain, slightly sour, a little salty. Some people say it reminds them of the water from canned mushrooms or artichokes. That slightly metallic, slightly earthy taste. Others describe it like chlorine from a swimming pool. Not the actual chemical, but that sharp, clean but not really smell and taste. And then there are people who say it's like cheap processed cheese that's been left out too long. Not good brie. Not fancy cheese. Just that weird, slightly off room temperature cheese product. So there you go. The real answer isn't one food. It's a weird mix of egg white, plain yogurt, canned vegetable water, and maybe a hint of pool water. Delicious? Probably not. Accurate? According to the internet, yes. But here's the thing. It doesn't even taste the same every time. What you eat matters a lot. Foods like garlic, onions, broccoli, and asparagus can make it taste more bitter and strong. Red meat and dairy don't help either. But fruits, especially pineapple, oranges, and berries, can make it taste sweeter and milder. The natural sugars in these foods actually change the flavor. Drinking lots of water helps too. More water means a lighter, less intense taste. If you're dehydrated, everything gets more concentrated, including the weird stuff. And things like smoking, alcohol, and coffee, they all add more bitterness. So if someone says it tastes different every time, they're not making it up. The chemistry really does change based on what's going on in the body. So let's wrap this up. The smell? There's one tiny thing in common. Ammonia. That's it. Your brain picks up that one note and thinks, wait, have I smelled this before? Cheese? But everything else is different. Brie smells creamy and earthy. Semen smells sharper and more metallic. Not the same thing. The taste? Not even close. Cheese gives you butter, fat, richness. Semen is watery, salty, maybe a little sweet or bitter. Totally different experience. And remember, semen changes based on what you eat and drink. Cheese doesn't do that. Brie always tastes like brie. Your body is more like a recipe that changes every day. So next time someone says these two things are the same, now you have the science to tell them why they're wrong. One shared molecule doesn't make them twins. If you enjoyed this weird little science lesson, hit subscribe. We answer the questions you were too embarrassed to Google. See you in the next one.